What was your always something? You said, oh, the
Oh
bank, the
man.
deadline thing.
Yeah, we had, like I say, I mean, working with real estate, got to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row, people paying, all the renovations done, your property managers, you're always working with somebody, maneuvering something to make the property go better, right? You know,
Something, isn't it? It's something.
it doesn't matter. People that, if I could just start fixing and flipping houses, and they think that process doesn't come with any pushback or whatever the process may be. Well, you shared something a couple weeks ago, right? I mean, on your insurance thing, and it's like, you just sometimes things come up.
Things just happen. I don't know. I wish I would have known this when I first got started. You just think you're gonna come in the real estate business and just do a bunch of deals and just crush it and be doing. I got this going to that.
Yeah, and then you find out that I got this going takes time, and that going takes time, and then until you can build that team. And I love what I don't remember if it was Dean Graziosi or Tony Robbins said. Most people overestimate what they can get it done in a year and underestimate what they can get done in 10.
That's a good point. I love that.
And because most people are like, I'm going to come into real estate, buy X number in a year. It's like, no, keep consistent, get those teams built over those 2, 3, 4 years. Then all of a sudden, you can really scale and go quicker. But we want to do it all right now,
That's my life in a nutshell. I look back, I'm like, I don't even remember my career until like 2017. I'm like, it's like from 2004 to 17 is like a blur.
Yeah. Because you were probably starting and putting things together and figuring everything out, and you know how that goes.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is crazy, man. And it really challenges you to become and we don't talk about this probably enough in real estate, but it really challenges you to become a better leader.
That's true.
You know, whether you're leading, banks or property managers, or you're leading whatever, your teams, your contractors, whatever kind of real estate you're in. We don't talk about it probably enough about the kind of leader we are. And that really is what helps us get to that next level. I've learned.
You grow, right? The growing part is doing nobody. I don't want it. I'm like, I don't want to grow. I just want it right now. I just want.
That's so true. Yeah. What do I want to grow for, man? I just want it. I just want to go get it. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you there. Absolutely.
Round up. Greetings, class. Come on in. It is an honor to hang out with you today. I am your pilot for today. My name is Chris Haskins. My mission in ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. And today I've got my friend, my man, Mike Fritz. What up, homie?
Hey, what's up, man? It's always good to hang out with you, brother. Is it getting cold up there in Virginia yet, or are you guys escaping it?
It got a little chilly, but we're still. It's 82 today, so it's beautiful.
That's beautiful, man. That's perfect. That's right in the sweet spot.
Gorgeous out there, brother.
Yeah, that's perfect, man. That's the kind of day you want to be outside. That's beautiful.
What, you in Arizona? Where you at?
Yeah, Phoenix, man. Yeah, Phoenix is this time of year. The joke in Phoenix is from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. is winter. From 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. is spring. From 12 to 4 is summer, and then fall is in the evening. That's kind of the joke here, because we get. I mean, we wake up, it's 50. We go to, right now it's probably 85 or 90. I mean, it's just such a perfect swing. Perfect. Yeah. We'll get a spread where like in January to go from 35 to 75 every day. And so you get a 40 degree swing. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's you got that big swing, which I love it because, I love the cool air and that kind of stuff. But also, man, it's so beautiful. Like right now, man, you can walk outside, it's like 80 degrees. It's just perfect. Love it out here.
That is sweet.
Love it, man.
So private money, Mike. We're talking about buying real estate. I know you have been a practitioner of buying real estate over the last, several years. And I just, every time I talk to you, I learn something new, different strategies I can implement. So over the next few moments round up, Mike is going to just talk to us about what he's got going on, deals, and just to help you open your brain, because both of us buy and sell real estate, but we both have our unique strategies, which is why I like hanging out with Mike. Raising private money can be done several ways. Mike does it a little differently than me, and that's why I love hearing the story. What you been up to, Mike?
Hey, man, thank you so much. Again, everybody that's on, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so pumped to have everybody here. I see all the comments flowing in. You guys are amazing. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it was probably 2014, man. I went to this event A buddy of mine, Mike Wolf, was having. I'd never even heard the term private money. I'm like, taking somebody else's money, investing in real estate. What in the world does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. Like, I'm kind of dumb and stupid, and not dumb and stupid. I just didn't know, right? When we're starting off, we don't know all these strategies of lease options and fix and flip and sandwiches, all the things you can do in this industry. I mean, you just don't know how many good ways there are to do a deal, right? I thought if I had to buy real estate, I had to look at my bank and have the money to buy it. And I didn't know, and I had a guy's like, well, why don't you get private money? And I'm like, well, I'll try that as soon as you tell me what private money is. I'll go try that. But I'm a doer, man, but I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, no, you go and you take somebody else's money, you invest, and you give them some sort of part of the deal, or maybe you pay a percentage or whatever. I'm like, really? Like, people do that? And he's like, every single day. And because there's a lot of people out there that have money, but they don't have the knowledge of real estate. See, a lot of times, it's a lot of you are on that. You've been listening to Chris. You've been learning. You've been educating yourself. A lot of you don't understand the value you bring to the table just with knowing the stuff and I didn't either, right? And I'm sure you could speak to that too, Chris. You come and what it takes to get a deal done. That's a big value, man. You can partner with somebody with money, and I didn't realize that. I knew back then I was kind of a small multifamily guy. I bought like duplexes and 3 units, really small buildings, but good cash flow. They graded. I knew a lot about real estate that I didn't really know I knew, right? And then you know what I mean? And then
You're a big deal, man. I keep telling my boys, I'm like, y'all are big deals. Y'all, you come home every day, you do this every day. You're like, man, I'm just working.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, and when the guy's like, why don't you try private money? I started learning about this. I'm like, wow, this is pretty amazing that you can, I don't have to put up my money and I can give somebody else value. Because, one of my favorite things in the world is adding value to people. And one of the things I love about private money is it's a trade of value. You're giving value to your investors at a rate that they are probably not going to be able to get in a lot of other types of investment. The stock market's really volatile. They got to watch it like a hawk to make sure they get it out if it starts to go down. And so, they
Bitcoin, right? It's great.
Well, yeah, Bitcoin. I mean, it's like when Bitcoin's riding up high. I always say this about any type of investment: if it can go up high fast, it can come down fast. And Bitcoin scares me. That for me personally, man, I shot a video on this one time. Bitcoin, it scares me because a lot of it is so speculative on what you're actually buying and investing in, right? And so I know a lot of people that have thrown some money at it. I had a chance to back when it was at 23 grand. And had I invested, it goes up 50, 60, doubles your money. Wow, that's great. But here's the thing: I've learned if you look at the track record of 40 years of history, real estate has been one of the most consistent, safest, best investments ever. And so that's where my money is.
So crazy.
And that's where I want to put money into deals. But one of the things that I will say about private money, and I'll start off with saying this, and before we even get going, Chris, I want you to speak to this too. Private money is way more a mindset than it is a strategy. Because I can tell you that you will only raise the amount of money your mindset will allow you to raise. And you can't go past it. You just can't. It's just like gravity. It's as consistent as it is. So the power of you being here today, I just want to first thank you all for being here and tell you that by being here, we're gonna try to stretch that mindset a little bit today, because if you're gonna raise, to some people raising 50,000 seems like, oh my goodness,
Mount Everest.
Yeah, that sounds like way out of reach. And then you have like one of my mentors that raised $7 million in 7 hours. And so it's one of those things where it's like, man, it's all a mindset game. So open up your mind today to maybe learning some strategies that may be a little bit different. So let's expand a little bit on that today. The second thing I will say, and I did a Facebook Live yesterday, talk about this a little bit. I want to reiterate this again. Before I go on, Chris, I want you to talk about that too. Just the power of mindset in raising money. I mean, you've raised a lot of money, maybe in a different way, but you've raised lots of private money over the years. How did your mindset, or the mindset of those that you've coached and worked with, how did it change the ability to raise and actually get the money?
Yeah, it's almost like I remember thinking that 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 was a lot of money, even 100,000 is like.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't want to sound on a different level because I'm just both of us. I'm like, I'm just a regular dude. Put my pants on in a day. So normal. Man, my life is boring, right? But it's like perspective,
Yeah.
and the conversations you have with people. And it's weird. I heard a guy say, once you start looking at things differently, then they will start looking differently to you. So yeah, you
So
got to
true,
kind
man.
of, yeah, man, you got to kind of look for this stuff and craft it to where it's going to work.
Yep. Yep. And one of the things I will say, that first deal you'll do, maybe it is 50,000, and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I know I can raise 50, and then next year you stretch to 100, and all of a sudden your set point begins to grow. Now I'm going to talk
Mhm.
about some strategies to get there, but I want you to understand how the set point of the mind plays with private money, because private money is the inside of mind. There's this invisible ceiling, and wherever your mindset has that ceiling, you won't be able to
Thermostat.
raise. You
It's
won't
a
be able to raise capital
thermostat.
past it. You know what I
You
mean?
know what? Talking to you, dog. I know I'm doing 500,000 this month, right? Just raising, and that's not a lot for you. So I'm thinking, even before I started dealing with you, I would raise 100, 200 per house. Now I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm at 3. We're going up to 4.
yeah,
And I know I did. I promise you, I didn't do this until I started hanging out with you. And then when I'm doing it now, it's just like, man, it's just another number. I don't even think about it. It's just another
yeah.
zero.
Just another zero. And the way you practically think about that, just another phone call,
Another
just
phone
another
call, man.
investor, just one referral. Your one relationship. I mean, I had an investor just past the 7-figure mark. They've invested 7 figures into our multifamily deal. One
Mm.
investor equaled $1 million of private money. You
Wow.
never know that one person who's
Mhm.
50 years old but has a huge IRA that was maybe given to them, and they're like, I want to put this to
Yeah,
work. You
it's true.
never know. And one of the mistakes I made, one of the biggest mistakes I made in private money, and I don't want you to make this, is do not make decisions for people. Because a lot of
Mm.
times I would see them drive up in a Toyota Corolla and assume they might not have money to invest. A lot of times people like that, they just don't value cars. They might have a lot of money to invest.
Mhm.
You look at a lot of baby boomers and stuff that grew up, and their parents grew up through the Great Depression. They didn't put a lot of value on cars and stuff and
Mm-mm.
things, and so don't make those decisions for people. Every single person, they might not have money in the bank, but they might have equity in a property. They might not have money in the bank, but they might have an IRA or a life insurance policy that they can invest in real estate from. And this is the power of understanding how this process works. So number one,
Yeah.
we got to get that mindset stretch. Number two, don't make decisions for people. And the third thing is, money is a currency in and of itself. But what is the currency of private money? What makes it trade? The number one things that makes private money trade is trust.
Mhm. Speed
It's
of
when they
trust.
trust in you. And I've learned that there's 3 levels of trust with private money investors. Number one, they obviously need to trust you enough that no, you ain't going to take the money and run to Vegas. They got to trust you enough to know you're a good person. You ain't gonna literally screw them over. The second thing is they trust you not to lose their money. There's an interesting statement. The older people get in private money investing, when they invest, the older people get, the more they're concerned with the return of their money than the return on their money.
Mhm.
And so that second layer is, I trust you not to lose. Then that third layer is, I trust you to make me money. So the first layer is just, they got to trust that you're a good enough person. You ain't going to run with their money. And I know, Pete, if you're listening to Chris and following Chris, you ain't that kind of person.
Mhm.
That second, those top 2 layers of trust is, and you can move people over time. That first thing where they trust you not to lose it. Like, my investors know I'm going to take the hit and take 0 on a deal to make sure they make money. They know
That's
that.
just that's the secret.
I'm telling you, dude.
That's the secret.
So I was
Like the
sitting.
house blew up, y'all. The house blew up. A UFO came out of the sky and picked it up and took it with them off the planet Earth. But you're good.
Yeah,
You're
you're
good.
good. I got you. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's
That's the
funny.
secret.
It's so true. I was sitting. I was watching. I don't remember where I saw this because I don't really watch the news much, but I saw the president come off of Air Force one time, and the Secret Service was surrounding the president. And I was thinking, that's really what we are for our investors' money.
Mhm.
The Secret Service is there if a bullet flies. They're literally there to take the bullet so the president doesn't get hit.
Yep.
Well, I was thinking that's really what we do around our private money investors. We stand there, so if the bullet flies, we take the hit, and they don't take that.
That's
And it
true.
doesn't necessarily mean that you take the hit out of your own pocket. It just might mean you don't make as much on that deal. You
Mhm.
take a bigger hit on your portion
Yep.
of that deal, right? And so, as we talk about private money, I want you to understand, number one, it's a mindset. but it's also we've got to understand that we've got to build trust. In fact, I've said a lot of times when people are like, how do I get this person to invest, with me? Or I know they have money. How do I get them to invest? It's all about trust. It's all about trust. They've got to trust you enough to give them or to give you your money. And so I'm gonna do a teaser. So as Chris mentioned, we've got some cool things coming up. We're gonna tell you about in a minute, but here's one thing that I talk about a lot. Some of you might have jobs. Maybe you're an accountant, or you work at a factory, or you work, you're whatever, you work at a medical office, doesn't matter, whatever your job is. That's how people know you. So that's what people think of you when they see you. It's like, oh yeah, they're a CPA or do this or they're whatever. So that they think that they see you and they think of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to raise private money for real estate, we have to rewrite the narrative of how people know us. We have to rewrite the narrative of how people know us.
That's funny you say that.
Instead of seeing you as a CPA, they need to see you as a real estate investor that is a CPA. Mm-hmm. And we've got to rewrite that narrative. So one of the ways that because for the last decade, I've been traveling the country as a full-time speaker and consultant, and doing leadership talks for high school students and college students. When COVID hit, my life changed. My business went away overnight. I had 37 speaking engagements go away and my whole life changed.
Wow.
And then I had to think, okay, what am I going to do? So a lot of people think that Mike Fritz has been raising money for 20 years. Mike Fritz has been raising money for about 19 months.
Wow.
And so, I raised $7 million in 7 months. I don't say that to like make you think, oh man, this guy's, I couldn't care less about that. What I want you to see is if you can rewrite that narrative quickly, you can raise a lot of money quickly. That narrative is the key. It's the linchpin of getting people to see Mike Fritz and think real estate, not see Mike Fritz and think speaker. That's what we have to switch. Got to switch. I see them not CPA, but I see a Tony and Angela and Bill. Tony, Angela, Bill. I'm not X, but a real estate investor. So when they see that, then the talks at Thanksgiving aren't, so how's your job? What are you up to? How are the kids? It's, you doing any deals? That's when you've switched the narrative.
What you got?
Exactly. And so I want you to, this is the frame with which we raise money. A lot of people want to know, how do I get investors? How do I get investors? I just don't want you to build a house without a foundation, right? And so I'm going to walk you through. So now what I'll do is I'm going to walk you through a few deals that we did I did this last year. I'm going to walk you through 3 examples of deals that came in, what we did, and how I found those investors so that you can, hey, from Baltimore, love Baltimore. I think Baltimore is probably one of my favorite airports in the country.
Why is that?
I love flying through Baltimore. They've got great food options. They've got great places to set up and work if you get delayed and stuff. Yeah. I just love Baltimore's airport. They just got a great airport. West Palm Beach. How y'all doing?
Yeah.
How y'all doing? I'm gonna go ahead and hit. I'm gonna play inside the screen here so we don't get.
I want to say, let me know when you're ready, but I want to let my roundup people know that I learned something when I turned 42. There used to be always these people in the music industry. You ready for the screen, Mike?
Yeah, go for it, brother.
That's the music industry. People used to say it doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know. And I thought that for a long time. But when I got older, I finally realized it really doesn't even matter who you know. It matters who knows you. Who the hell knows you and what they know about you, really.
There you go. That last part that you just said is so killer. What they know about you. What do they think about when your name comes to their head? That's so crucial, dude.
Yeah.
That is so crucial. And it's so true because, we hear this, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah. But, I know about the presidents, but I don't know. They don't know me. Right. No. And so, I know a lot of, I know the CEO of, XYZ company, but they don't know me. Right. And so, yeah, you're 100% right, dude. That's so killer. But I believe private money, though, is as your, I believe your wealth in private money is directly tied to your ability to leverage opportunities to grow your net worth without investing time. And here's what I mean by this. The word leverage is the idea that we can earn without our own time and money. And the power of private money is it allows you to invest in projects where you can leverage somebody else's money. You can leverage their money and you can still make money. And here's the power of this. It scales for you, right? So as long as you can continue to find investors, you can keep doing this over and over and over and over and over again. And this is the cool thing about any deal you want to do. And the thing I love about private money, probably one of the things I love the most, obviously that you get to leverage it, but it works for any kind of real estate you want to do. You want to fix and flip, raise private money. And that's what Chris has done a lot of over the years. You want to buy storage units, great, raise private money. Multifamily, like I do, raise private money. You want to put houses under contract and buy and hold single family rentals, great, you can raise private money. Private money works for any. You want to buy, even as even my equity company is looking at now buying. You want to even buy businesses. You can buy businesses with private money. There's private money opens up so many opportunities for you. This is why I'm so passionate about giving you these tools, so you can start raising money from your network. So I'm going to walk you through just a couple deals that we've done the last few years, this last 18 months. That private money I wouldn't have been able to do without private money. So this is an 8-unit deal we bought. This is right on the campus of Notre Dame. And so we took this. This was a student housing apartment building. So we bought a student housing apartment building, had college students in it. And when the college students moved out, we transitioned it to an Airbnb, and the whole thing is an Airbnb, and it does really well.
The entire building.
Yep, the entire building is Airbnb. So we had to put about $5,000 a unit in to finish the furnishing. Because with student housing, you don't provide like TVs; they bring their own. So we had to put TVs, we had to put coffee maker. We had to do a little bit of stuff to everything. But here's the power: Notre Dame home football games, people pay $1,000 a night to stay in our place. And we got so I will say this: half the building right now, we turned the whole thing into Airbnb, but we did half like mid-range rentals and half Airbnb. And what that means is half the building we put on a site called Furnish Finders. Now, Furnish Finders is a cool site if you own rental property, because Furnish Finders is like traveling doctors and nurses that need like 3 and 6 months, a 3 and 6 months rent stay. So they're really high-end tenants if it's closer to a hospital, which we are. And they rent, these were renting out at $1,800. They're renting for $2,100. These traveling doctors and nurses.
That's funny you mentioned that, Mike. I'm deploying that strategy on one of my rental properties as we speak. They're painting it. I'm glad you mentioned.
Oh, that's cool. So are you using Furnish Finders?
Well, let me tell you, I'm partnering up with a guy who kind of is bringing me in. So I'm following his lead. I don't want to really say anything until I kind of get it all set up, but we are going down that route.
Fine. Totally fine. So and the cool thing about doing it that way is you get some consistent cash flow. You get some consistent cash flow because Airbnb is turning and burning, right? They're in for 2, 3, 4, 5 nights. Sometimes they come in here's the power of Airbnb. I had somebody stay in my place for a month and a half, so 6 weeks, and they paid $5,500 for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And so because they came through Airbnb, they needed a place for a part of their business team that was traveling that needed to stay in South Bend for 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they rented it. They just rented it through Airbnb. They didn't try to negotiate or anything. It's like $5,500 for 2 weeks. I think it was actually a little more than that. And so, but that's really good money, right? And so that's great money. And so the power of short-term rentals, and this is what they call, by the way, just a side note, a side term. It's called rental arbitrage. It's where you buy something that is used for one specific purpose, like maybe a long-term rental, and you change it over and turn it into a short-term rental and increase the income. And it's a powerful way to do that because you've got traditional rental, then you got student housing, then you got Airbnb, the short-term rentals. That's going to be your stair step of income. But the cool thing is if you can buy a property that's a destination, Orlando or something, and turn it into an Airbnb, you're going to do really well. So we saw this building and the whole thing was renovated. It's a beautiful inside, granite countertops, cherry cabinet. The whole place is just beautifully renovated. And so we wanted to start getting into this building. So here's what it looked like. So when I wanted to fund this building, we bought this building for $1.2 million. But here's the thing. The down payment on a $1.2 million building is it's like $300,000. Mm-hmm. I didn't have $300,000 in the bank. I didn't have that kind of money. So what was Mike going to do if he wanted to get this? So what I was talking about multifamily, and a buddy of mine had me on his podcast, kind of like this. I just started talking. Yep, this is what I'm doing. I'm looking at multifamily buildings. You know, I had bought a couple. I owned, I think, 13, 14. No, I owned about 20 or 30 units at the time. I went on his podcast last March. And all of a sudden, somebody reached out through email. Hey, I saw that you might, take investors. I'd love to have a conversation. And I pitched this deal to them. And so I had to raise $350,000 for this deal. Usually that would be 2, 3, 4, 5 investors. That was one investor. They ended up funding the whole thing. That's the power of private money. So I'll walk you through the numbers a little bit. This is actually should say my 8 unit. I'm going to do this real quick because that's going to bother me. It's only 8. It's 8 units.
So many of them.
Yeah, right. I don't know why that said that.
Let me reintroduce you real quick, Mike, for people that are just joining us.
Definitely, man.
Round up, homies. What's going down? You are joining me with Mike Fritz today. Mike is a real estate entrepreneur. Been doing it for many, many years. Bought and sold tons of real estate. And today he's just doing a short training on raising private money and letting you know what's going on just to open up your mindset. And remember, if you want to join our channel, if you want to get your question answered first, like 10, how do you say this? Tiny G21. We will answer members' questions first, okay? If you want to join, there's a button right there below that says join the channel. It's just a little extra for busy professionals and entrepreneurs to get your questions answered first. And all it is, it costs you nothing but a large Starbucks coffee once a month. Mike Fritz, thanks for training with us today, my friend.
Hey, man, it's so good to be here. And I'm so excited that you all want to know about private money. I love talking about this because
I do too.
It's changed my life.
You know what? Where else you talk about this, Mike? You can't talk about it at home. You can't talk about it.
It's true. It's funny. I go to Thanksgiving dinner and they're all like, yeah, the kids are good and and that's great. I love talking about all that stuff. But if I brought up and like, yeah, I'm raising private money, they'd be like, what? What does that even mean?
Here comes that Mike. Want to talk about money all the time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
God, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But if you are just joining us, we're talking about a deal that I bought. It closed just before the turn of 2021, just at the end of 2020, an 8-unit apartment building. And the price was $1.2 million. It had a net income of $49,000. Now I'm going to show you why private money is powerful in a deal like this. I had to bring $350,000 cash to close. So I needed to raise $350,000 for this deal. Here's the power of all these numbers you're seeing. You could buy a project for $100,000 and raise $30,000 to get into the deal, 40, 50, or the whole 100, pay cash for it and then renovate it and sell it. So don't get caught up in the numbers and think, oh, I could never raise that much money. Remember, mindset, right? Remember when I said the mindset sets the ceiling? Let's change that a little bit. Don't get caught up in the number itself. The number is just a number. As I think Chris said that a minute ago. It's just add another 0. Don't get caught up in the number. Get caught up in the strategy and the path that can really, really get you there. Okay. So I had to come up with $350,000. 100% came actually not just from private investors, plural, but from one private investor. And that was the investor that just crossed the 7-figure mark with us and has invested, over $1 million in deals. But again, here's the thing. A lot of people look like, oh, I could never do that. That's just one relationship. You just meet one person, rewrite that narrative, like I mentioned earlier, and all of a sudden they're going to invest in your deal, right? And so it's not, I didn't go out and raise $1 million. I went out and built a relationship with one person. That's how I want you to think about it. Yeah. So it's not about, I got to get money. It's like, no, you got to build relationships. That's what transitions to money. I promise. Yeah. And Chris can speak to that as well, because he does the same exact thing, right? And and then the way I structure my deals, even when I raise, I put no money into the deal, I still own 30% of the project. So I'm going to own 30% of a deal. Heads up, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't have any money in. Here's the power. Imagine if you owned one, but you did 2 of those a year. In 5 years, you own 10 projects that you own 30% of that you don't have any money in. This is the power of private money. This is why literally I teach people especially in multifamily, you can retire in 5 years. You can get enough passive cash flow and your appreciation to get to a retirement number in 5 years. If you do 2 good deals a year and raise that money, that's about all you need. 10 good deals and you got a really good retirement income. That's the power of private money. And that's why I'm so excited to share a little bit with you on that. And so we raised that 350, and the power of that 350 is most of it went to the deal. And I also got a fee for putting the entire deal together. So the cool thing about private money, you get to structure it. So you could even charge a fee for finding the deal. So let's say you want to do fix and flips, and you found a $200,000 home. You want to put 30 in, so you need 230,000. Well, you could charge 240,000 and take a $10,000 management fee for finding the deal, finding the money, and doing everything around there. And then you sell it for 300. Everybody still makes good money, but you also get a kick for putting everything together.
Mm-hmm.
You can charge for raising your own private money. Did you hear me? You can actually charge your investors for raising your own private money.
That's crazy.
It's the greatest thing in the world. I love it. It's the greatest thing in the world. And so it's absolutely beautiful. This was John. John is in our inner circle, and he bought this 25-unit apartment building in Cincinnati. He had to raise $275,000. Went out, started applying these strategies, locked in 275 grand. I think it was from 4 investors, and got his first deal under contract. And now he loved the money raising part. He's the guy where he's just like, hey, so I'll partner with somebody else go find the deal. I just want to keep raising money. The reason I tell you that story is if you get good at raising money, you could partner with other people that have the deal, and you could bring the money.
I like that better, Mike. As I'm getting older and being in business, I'm like, I would much rather just deal with the money people.
Yeah. A lot of people that are good at it, and you're a really good relationship builder. And especially, as you know, Chris, raising private money has a lot to do with education, and that's kind of in your DNA. You got to educate your investors how they are going to get there. And you're such a good educator that it doesn't surprise me that you love that piece, because I could see you being absolutely phenomenal. Just that piece alone. So, but think about that, Chris. So you go raise the money. Let's say I found a deal. You go raise the money. You get a portion of the deal, and our team's managing everything, and you ain't got to do anything.
That's true. Yeah.
And
I think a lot of us start off looking for real estate.
Yep.
And then we find out, oh, darn, how am I going to buy it? Even if you do have a juicy, like John,
really
deal, you still got to come up with the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about this is it doesn't matter what, if you are raising capital, you could do any style of real estate. And that's what I want you to see. It's not about just multifamily. You're going to see multifamily buildings just because that's what I invest in. Doesn't mean you have to invest in that. But what I want you to see is the path to getting those investors. And this is a 16-unit deal. This was the most recent one I just closed in August, a 16-unit Lexington, Kentucky. Beautiful little 2 8-unit buildings side by side there, and beautiful little property. And here's the purchase price: $1,395, net income $39, $395. This one I needed a little bit more, almost $400 for cash to close, 100% from private investors. And this is, again, it doesn't mean that like, oh my gosh, I could never raise $395,000. Remember, mindset, expand, right? You could. You're only one relationship away from this just being a phone call, right? You're one relationship away from just calling up. Hey, Sarah, I've got a great deal. Would you be interested in having a conversation about it? Oh, sure. You have a conversation. Yeah, this looks like a good deal. And all of a sudden you have an investor. You're just a couple relationships away. So stop seeing the number and start seeing the relationships, because that's what private money is about. Start building relationships, and all of a sudden private money just becomes easy. Most people try to get money, and I'm telling you, get relationships. What's that, Chris?
Wow. Yeah, it just shows up. It kind of just shows up once you build a relationship.
It does, man. I probably, this is the thing that I didn't get when I first heard about private money. This is the piece I missed fully, and it was probably said by the teacher. I just got private money. Oh my gosh, private money! This is the answer to everything. And went and tried to raise. And then one night I'm at a dinner. This was 2015, 2016, something like that. No, it was 2015. I'm at a dinner, and a guy that I have a good relationship with, a good buddy of mine. And we're just sitting there having dinner with probably 8 or 10 of our friends. And he said, so what are you up to these days? I don't know, I'm buying, I'm speaking a little bit, buying some real estate. He goes, oh, really? I didn't know you invested in real estate. Where do you invest in? I'm like, well, we're doing some fix and flips in the Midwest. And so yeah, actually I said, if you ever want to partner on a deal, let me know. He goes, well, what does that look like? I said, well, a lot of times we look for people that put in the money, and we do all the work, and then you get a significant portion of the profit. He goes, I would really be interested in having a conversation about that. That sounds
Wow.
really cool.
That's
And
crazy.
later on, he invited my wife and I to come out and hang out. He lives in Chicago. We lived up in Southwest Michigan. He said, "Why don't you guys come down for 4th of July? We'll just hang out and watch fireworks, and then we'll chat a little bit more about real estate." We're like, "Hey, let's do it." So we just went down. I didn't go down to get money. I went down to just talk, just hang out. Walked away with an investor. This is the
Wow.
thing. It has nothing to do with I gotta get out there and just start making cold calls. That doesn't work, by the way. I just making cold calls, man. Do you have any money? No, just
These guys are selling
people.
these systems, pisses me off. They're selling these systems where you have a list of private lenders and you can
Oh
go
my
by.
goodness.
You know what? I don't know if it works. I just know the people that have loaned me money over the years. I cannot
No.
imagine these 70-year-old dudes like, yeah, what you got? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there's probably a sense of law and numbers. If you email a million people, you
That's
might get a
true.
couple people to reach
That's
out and say,
true.
"Let's have a conversation." But you and I
That's true.
both know that is not that is very, very, very low percentage of success, if any percentage of success.
Yeah.
It all comes through these relationships. And so, one of the things, I'll give you a quick hack. One
Yep.
of the things that I would do, I would take your cell phone, I would take out a piece of paper, I would scroll down through your phone, I'd write down every single name of people you think would be interested in having a conversation about real estate,
Just talk about it.
and just start having conversations. That's it.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I didn't say call and ask for money. Just start having conversations. Say, hey, if I ever got a deal, So one of the ways I worded mine early on is I said, hey, I'm starting to open up, and this is the way I worded it. Listen to this phraseology. I just said, I'm starting to open up my deals to some outside investors to add value to people that have money but don't know the real estate side. If you're ever interested in being one of those partners, let me know. And it's
That
just a
works.
real simple,
That
hey,
works.
I'm opening up my deals to some people to add value to people. If you're ever interested, let me know. It's very nonchalant, very easy. But the more people I say that to, the more people I have to talk to about the deals when they do come around,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and again, on this deal, same thing, 70, 70-30.
Sweet.
Yep. And then this specific one, I'm going to end up making $11,700 a year. I charged a $28,000 acquisition fee and a 2% asset management fee because I manage the property manager. So I charge some fees to do all that work.
Tom.
So my first year, this is what I want you to see, the power of a deal like this. I'm going to make $43,560 my first year on this deal. And I didn't put any money into it.
Yeah,
That's what I want. That's what I want you to see. And then my second year, because that acquisition fee you only charge in the first year, but my second year I'm gonna make $15,000 a year. So that's what's that about $1,200-ish a month,
Mm-hmm.
$1,200-ish a month, and I didn't put any money into the deal. This is this is what you could be doing, and this is what I want you to be doing. And you could structure deals this way. And so that's the power of private money. Bijan, one of the people that came through one of our last challenges, he went out and he sent me this Facebook message, and he said, "Hey, I put a few of your actions." He raised 150 grand. All he did was he reached out to 3 people, said, "Hey, I'm doing some real estate deals. Are you interested ever in partnering on some of these deals, bringing in some of the capital and me doing the work?" A couple people said, "Heck yeah, let's have a conversation." He got $150,000 just by sending a couple text messages, right?
It's so weird. That's exactly how I got my first.
Oh, is it?
I just was like, "Hey, man, I'm doing da-da-da. Would you be interested?" You would be surprised. I think I made 5 phone calls. I remember it like it was yesterday. Make a few phone calls because I think Chris Chico said, "Chris, you got to put the reps in." I think we aren't used to putting in the reps of
That's a
asking for
great
money, so
point.
we're not used to saying the words.
Yeah, so good. So good. Yeah. Yeah. Wanting, I love to exercise, but wanting the muscles without the work is kind of crazy,
Yeah, it
right?
ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work.
But uh, just being here tells me you already have a level of action takerness. But
That's
here's
right.
what I want you to understand about education and learning and growing. You cannot get to where you want to go without it. But after it, you gotta go do it. And then once you do it, you're going to see some of this stuff change, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see some of this stuff change. And then this is one of my favorite deals I did in the last 18 months because this deal, when I found this deal, I'm like, that is probably one of the sexiest buildings I've ever seen. And so it's a 6-unit deal. It's actually really close to the 8-unit deal by Notre Dame in South Bend. This is really close to that deal. It's just right around the corner. by that deal. And it's a 6-unit high-end luxury apartment building. So we paid quite a bit per door for this property, but you can see the insides, just a really high-end product.
Is that luxury vinyl plank on the floor, or what type of flooring is that?
Yeah, so we did tile all throughout, and then you've got vinyl, that vinyl plank
Yeah, gotcha.
on the,
Okay.
but which is really one of the things I love about that. If you're ever finishing houses off, it makes it look so rich, but it's such a
Yes.
cost-effective product.
Yeah, it is.
It's a really cost-effective product. Yeah, so we do vinyl plank. We do vinyl plank on most of our stuff other than kitchens and baths. So we've even stopped putting carpet in the bedrooms. It makes the houses a little louder, but it makes it so much more maintenance-free for a lot of people. It's so much easier to clean that stuff than, vacuum and all that kind of stuff. And so we started putting vinyl planks in there. But yeah, it's beautiful product. But one of the things that I want you to see about the product more than just the product is $720,000, $25,000 net income. You needed 210 to close, and it's the exact structure. You've seen it on the other slides. 100% private investors, right? And this was the reason I like this deal and saved it for last. It was my first deal I ever did. This was the first deal I ever really raised money for. The doctor, my buddy that I went for 4th of July, that was my first official investor. I did a fix and flip with him. But this is the first deal I ever raised for under these kinds of structures with the 70-30 split multifamily. This is my first one. I needed to raise $210,000. I can tell you the day I went under contract, I didn't have one investor. I was scared to death. I'm like, how am I going to get all this money? So I called up. So I wrote down 3. I did that thing I told you to do. I wrote down 3 names. I'm like, these 3 people, I'll bet you will be key. And one of them was that doc. I'm like, hey, do you want to do invest again? All 3 of them said no. All 3 of them said no. And so lest you think that it's just a smooth sailing, no, you have to be willing to take a no, because here's what I've realized. In raising private money, a no is often not a no forever. Sometimes it's just a no right now. Maybe they're just not ready this moment, but on your next deal, they'll be, right? And so every time somebody says a no, I'm like, hey, no worries at all. No worries at all. Are you interested in just me letting you know if I have a future deal? And they always, because they're telling you no, they want to soften that no. They're like, always, oh, absolutely. Tell me what you have coming up as well. And so it gives you the opportunity to follow back up with them the next time you have a deal, or whatever you're up to, right? Because I mean, over the years, Chris, have you been told no when you talk to people about private money?
Yeah, you got a guy lending you $100,000 for 2 years, and then he has next year he can't help you. So it kind of it stings, but it gives you the opportunity. I remember when I had a guy pull back 100, I'm like, I need to turn into a better private money raiser.
There you go. That's a really good. I had that happen this year. I had a guy pull out at the 11th hour with 100,000. I had to go raise the rest of that, and that'll change your morning.
I had to raise. Yeah. Anyway, we could talk about it all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
I had you for 42 minutes, Mike. Let's see, man.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm going to walk you through so the numbers on this one. Again,
I'm sorry. There we go.
Same structure as the last one, but I also want to just help you see. We charge a little bit of an acquisition fee at $24,000 first.
Go over that real quick. You can go over that acquisition so people can understand.
So $7,500 was from the rents that we'll get every year. $14,400 I charged as an acquisition fee. It's a little bit smaller deal than the other ones. $2,120 for that asset management fee for the year. So my first year I'm making 24. My second year I'm making 9. But here's again the power and what I want you to really see: none of my own capital. And that's what I want you. I want that. Remember that mindset to shit. I want you to see real estate. Making money from real estate does not mean you have to make it from your own capital. Because the truth is, let's be honest, we all invest until our capital's gone. I mean, if you invest in a couple deals, it's gone. It's like, okay, there you go. And if I want to really grow, I got to learn this game, right?
Everybody's limited.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. And so, Chris, are we ready to talk a little bit about a cool thing we put together?
Yeah, let's give it a shot. I'm going to let you go for a second. Mike, I can't even lie. I got to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
No, go for it, man. Go for it. I'll talk a little bit about it. So one of the things that over the last year, we teach a lot of people about multifamily, and so many people came through our programs and they started asking, man, I love what you're doing, but I want to raise private money. And so we put together the very first ever 5-day leverage challenge. And it's called the leverage challenge because we're going to help you leverage other people's money. And we believe private money is the only way to really build wealth in real estate because you invest out of your capital. And I want all these stories that I'm sharing with you. I want it to be yours. I want it to be your time. I want it to be your time. So raising private money. So the challenge, what we're going to do The challenge, it'll be 5 days, and it's next Monday through Friday. I'll go over those dates again with you, but it's October 25 through 29. It's 5 days, and I'm going to go live for an hour to an hour and a half every single day. So it'll be 10. You're going to block out 10 Pacific time, so that's 1 Eastern time each day, Monday through Friday. And I'm going to teach some content and share how to really get into this private money and the system I used to raise this. So the 5-day challenge. So day 1, we're going to talk about the foundation of raising private money, why it's the only way to build wealth in real estate. Number 2, day 2, we're going to go through that private money, the money raisers blueprint of how to change that mindset. And I'll tell you, day 2 is probably the most important of the entire challenge, because if you can't get it right, I promise you, I used to be what I called a tactic junkie. I go to live events and I'm like, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. And then I realized the reason I was still asking people to tell me what to do was because my mindset wasn't where it needed to be. I would already be there had my mindset been there. And so, not that you don't need to take action, but you can't take action past the blueprint of your own mindset. So day 2, we'll walk through that, and I'll give you my magic 3-step formula for shifting money, the blueprint of your mindset. And then day 3, I'll talk a little bit and touch a little bit on the 2 kinds of investors. One of the reasons why Chris and I love talking about private money together is, Chris has done a lot in the private lending space, and I do a lot in the private equity space. And so it's cool. There's different ways to raise money. Chris raises money completely differently than I do. And that's the benefit. You learn both ways. And man, it's like, wow, you're never without money. There's so many different ways you can structure this. Mm-hmm. And then day 4, we'll talk a little bit about how to find them. Where do you locate investors? What's the best way to build your investor list? And no, I'm not talking about building a big email list that you do blast to every week. Although that is a powerful way to do it. That's not what I'm talking about. Just talking about how to find those people that are interested. And then day 5, how to move them over and convert them to an actual investor. Because it's one thing for somebody to say to you at a networking event, yeah, man, I'd love to come in on a deal. That's different than somebody actually transferring $100,000 to your bank account to get real estate. I'm just telling you. Mm-hmm. And so that is a huge difference. And how do we convert them and actually assimilate them? And so I'll talk through my 3-step process of moving them through that. So it'll be a 5-day challenge. It'll be the leverage challenge on really how to grow your real estate and leverage private money. So when it'll be October 25 to 29, which is next Monday to Friday. So make sure you knock those dates down on your calendar. How much? The challenge is free. You get to come for free. So you get the challenge for free. I will tell you, when you register for the challenge, there is an opportunity to upgrade for $7, which, by the way, if you're coming into the challenge, I would encourage everybody, just take it. It's a Starbucks coffee. And what that will do is then Saturday, I'm going to do next Saturday morning, I'm going to do a Q&A for everybody that's gone through the challenge that upgraded. They're just going to get me for a Q&A of answering your questions through the challenge. What's the next steps and how do we really deploy this? So it's free, and then you can upgrade and come to that extra session on Saturday if that's something that interests you. And where Chris is going to provide a link for you. Snag that link. You go, you register. But let me tell you something. When you register, make sure you register and then go and join the Facebook group. Because if you don't join the group, that's where all the content is streamed to, is to that private Facebook group. So if you don't get in that Facebook group, then you've registered, but that you don't really get the value because you're not in where the content's going to be. So register, then click that link, go right, sign up and join the Facebook group so that you can actually make sure that you're where the action's going to happen. And I can tell you, out of the training I've done over the years of real estate, I'm probably most passionate about this because I've taught multifamily for years, but this is what helps people get real estate done. Because the number one thing that keeps people back from real estate, actually, there's 2: knowledge and money. And time can be a third one depending on their schedule, but you can partner with somebody that has the time. But knowledge and money is really tough. You're here, you're learning. That's why we're doing the challenge, is to fill the knowledge gap. And then we've got to get that money and that capital piece down. I mean, Chris, you've done so many deals over the years. I mean, what would your real estate look like today had you not leveraged private money?
Yeah, I would be nothing. I'd be nothing, Mike. Because remember 2009, 10, I lost 3 houses to foreclosure.
Wow.
So the banks would not loan me money. I stunk too bad. So for me, it was like, I don't even remember what year I started raising private money, but I'm like, man, this is so cool. I don't
Yeah.
ever want to go back to the bank. Why would I even go to the bank? As a matter of fact, when I go to the bank to make my deposits, right, the people come out the back. They say, "Mr. Haskins, can you please do an application?" I'm like, "For what?
Yeah.
For what?"
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I've got the private money lined up, and it's going to be less headache to borrow private money. It's going to be less paperwork. It's going to be
Paperwork.
so much easier to just do this route and power through it. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
so
man.
the leverage challenge really came out of a passion for to help people really remove the greatest obstacle. A lot of people are nervous to get into real estate, and some people are even really nervous to raise private money. We're actually going to talk about how to eliminate that fear in the challenge of
Sweet.
taking other people's money. How
Good.
do you eliminate that fear? Because that's a fear for a lot of people. And we're going to talk about how to feel comfortable doing that so we can eliminate that fear. Fear is the number one killer of action. We're going to eliminate that throughout the challenge. And so it would be honored. I would be honored if you came and hung out with us next week when I'm training on how to raise private money and really get you to that next level and turn the dial a little bit. Because if you're going to get investors over to that side where they're ready to invest, no matter when you got a good deal, they're ready to go. There's a system to building that. And we're going to talk about that at the 5-day leverage challenge. And I would love to have you there. I'd love to have you there, man. And if we can answer any questions, Chris, I'd love to answer any questions, man.
Yeah, round up if you're just joining us, so you're hanging out with us. We're with Mike Fritz right now, real estate investor, entrepreneur, private money raiser. So he's doing a challenge for you, right? He's put it together. It costs you nothing. There's a small upsell if you want to hang out with Mike after that. It's like $7-8. But the challenge starts. All that information is in the video description below. You can get signed up, and you got to learn how to raise private money. And the way Mike's doing it is equity. I didn't even know what equity money was until like last year. I'm being honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. And people think that I don't know it all. I'm still learning this stuff too.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And here's the thing. I was doing private equity investing, and when I started hanging out with you was when I really started learning the lending side. Like, oh man, I could get people to lend money because instead of this way. So the power of private money is the different structures, right? It's just such a powerful tool.
There you go.
Because every deal can call for a little bit different strategy.
That's right.
Right. And the more it's like a toolbox, the more tools you have in your box, you can not always pull out a hammer. Sometimes it needs a screwdriver. Right. So,
That's right.
you come to a deal, you're like, oh, this doesn't really need an equity deal. This is more of a lending deal. And you can pull that tool out if you know those differences and can navigate that. And that's the power of a challenge like this is we'll have that content available. And I'd love to hang with you.
Well, I think it's more about we'll get to Q&A, guys. We're coming to Q&A. I think it's more about who the hell you're hanging around. Because Mike, I wouldn't know nothing about this stuff. Not hanging out with guys like you. If you don't have anybody around you that's talking this stuff, how else are you going to learn this stuff?
Exactly. Well, and like I say, in 2014, I went to an event. I was listening, and they mentioned private money, and I'm like, what in the world is that? I have no idea what you're talking about. And it's 100% the people you hang around. You're absolutely right. I mean, I love what Jim Rohn said. Your income will be the average of the 5 people you hang around most. And
that's right.
And I've actually found that's true of just about everything. It's true of character. Your character will be the average of the 5 people you hang around.
Diet.
Yep, your diet, your health, and then think about this. Apply even raising money. Your ability to raise money will probably be the average of the 5 people you hang around. So you want to hang out with people that have the capacity to raise lots of money because you're going to get lots of money raising good ideas rather than $50,000 raising ideas. You're going to get $1 million raising ideas, and that's the power of what that net your inner circle. Who you hang with. Yeah, for sure. Because there's a lot of people, man. You know this too, Chris. They don't want to give up their close friends, and I get that. That's hard to do. But sometimes, man, those friends are holding us back a little bit.
That's right. That's right. For round up and get any questions in, make sure you head to the video description if you want to hang out with Mike next week. The time is going to be in there, Mike, and that when they click on that link that you're going to be doing the broadcast.
Yep, absolutely. So the broadcast every day will be 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay, gotcha.
Every single day on Friday, and then even on Saturday, it'll be 10 a.m. Pacific time at the extra session. If you bump up and come into that extra Q&A session, which I suggest you do because that'll allow you to put a big, beautiful bow on the challenge after you learn all that stuff. But yeah, so it'll be 10 a.m. Pacific every day, 1 p.m. Eastern every day.
1 Eastern, gotcha. 10 Pacific.
Yeah.
That's Pacific, y'all, not specific. Okay, that's 10 Pacific. All right. Rosanna, wow, I haven't seen her around in a while. Thanks for all the content. Can you talk about the terms you set for your lenders, Mike?
Yeah. So there's a couple things when you're doing private equity investors. I just give my investors equity. So they only earn when the deal earns. So they get 70% of cash flow and 70% of equity. So 70% of cash flow means while we own the deal, as the rents are coming in, I'm giving them 70% of the profit. And when we sell the project, they, of course, get their capital back. And then we split the profit 70-30. They get 70% of the profit as well. So I don't give... There's something called a preferred return. So sometimes when people lend you money, you give them a preferred return, meaning 7%. Like, I'm going to guarantee you 7% no matter what. On some deals, I give a preferred return. Some deals I don't. It all depends on the deal. If the deal is like, hey, this is a really depressed property, it's going to take us a couple of years to get it to health, but when we get it there, it's going to be amazing, then I probably won't give a preferred return. If it's a really good, stabilized, healthy property, I'll probably give a preferred return of 6-7%, depending on how much the deal is earning when I start. But usually I only give, in fact, currently, I'm trying to think. Currently, all my deals are straight equity, no preferred returns. I don't give preferred returns. And so I just say, you earn when the deal earns. Takes an extra layer of trust to get them into the deal. But I just do a straight cash flow equity. They own a percentage of the equity, percentage of the cash flow. And, Chris and I talk about private lending and private equity. There is a hybrid of both, where sometimes they're like, I'll give you the money at 8%, plus I want 10% of the profit or 20% of the profit. And so there is a hybrid of those two models that come together sometimes as well. So structuring that. And you know what I've learned to ask is I ask my investors what they're looking for. So a lot of times I ask them, like, what kind of returns are you looking for on your money? Some people might be parking it in a life insurance policy. It's doing fine, better than the bank, making 4%. But if I could make them 8, 9, they'd be happy. And then I don't give them 70%. I just pay them the percentage. You could do that. So a lot of times you want to know, what is the investor looking for?
What they're looking for. I think a lot of people, Mike, from my experience, man, they really like the fact that if they really wanted to, not to say that they are going to, if they really wanted to, they can get out of bed, put their clothes on, get in the car, drive to where their money is locked up into this building. So in my opinion, it's like, man, I think it gives them a little incentive to, as opposed to just saying, I got my money out here in this just magical, mysterious. And a lot of those, I'm reading this book now. He talks about antiquated money making things. I'm like, a lot of that stuff's antiquated. It may work, but some of this paper stuff, man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so true. And one of the values you have of raising private money right now with what's going on in the United States is a dollar, because of inflation, it's buying less, meaning that dollar is becoming worth less money. So if people have dollars in the bank, that's actually, they're holding on to a depreciating asset because the dollar is going down in value, right? So they're holding on to a depreciating asset. The best hedge against that process is debt. Getting debt from banks is great, but also investing it in something that has cash flow and appreciation and has a long historic track record of going northeast. Real estate does. Even if it tanks, what happens after it tanks? Comes back up. I mean, today, a lot of people today don't even remember 2008, 2009, how bad it was. Yeah, I know Chris does. Chris, like, I remember it like it was yesterday.
You daggone right.
Like that. I remember it. I still got the bruises.
Round up. If you're just here, make sure you head down to the link in the video description to hang out with Mike in his 5-day challenge next week. It's going to be talking about all you need to know to raise private money to get you some real estate. Thanks for answering that for Rosanna.
Absolutely. You are more than welcome.
Thanks again. Andre, one of our members, glad to catch us on this break. Good for you, Andre.
Absolutely, Andre. Great work, man. That's using your break well.
That's right. Instead of talking about sports. Golly. Me lady got to raise $2 million. Carl,
$2 million.
Has an investor ever wanted more than 70%? What was your response to them?
Carl,
hey, Carl.
That's a great question, Carl. That's a fantastic question. So I talked with a group of people, and this is where I'm at in my career now. I set the terms. If they want to come into my deal, I set the terms. Now, when I started, this is why I ask them, what are you looking for? Because if an investor would have said, I want 85%, I only want to give away 15, and they were putting up all the money when I first started, I'd have taken that deal. Give 15% of a deal that I mean, as long as I'm getting some fees so that I'm covering my time and finding it and all the due diligence and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. And so again, that's the power of asking up front. What are you really looking for? And if I state the split's going to be 70-30, this is how much you're going to make, et cetera. And they're like 70-30 and you're not bringing in any money. I want more equity. And I had somebody say that to me recently, and I say, I totally appreciate that. And you might find somebody that gives you more equity, but that's the structure that we feel most comfortable with for our investors to win and for us to win. And so that's kind of that's the terms that we work inside of. And I graciously said that, and they ended up moving on, and they did not invest with me. But here's the thing: at this point, I would rather have investors that believe in our system and believe in what we're doing than are always trying to get just that extra 2, 3, 4, 5, 10% in equity. When it's like, listen, at the end of the deal, I'm going to make you 15% on a low end of an annual return. Where in the heck else are you going to make 15%? And you're trying to vie for more percentage now?
Nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. You ain't gonna make that anywhere. And so I let them know that, and then I just graciously say these are the terms. So yeah, so great question, Carl.
Carl, but from my experience, I've learned in The Richest Man in Babylon, he talks about one of the 5 rules of gold. Don't force your gold to make unreasonable returns. Don't force your gold to make. I'm like, so when I'm doing deals, I'm like, you know what? We did okay. Let's move on. Don't try to squeeze, try to push the gas too much, man, because you end up losing.
You do. You try it. I mean, the idea of swinging for the fences and hitting home runs, usually you strike out more than anybody else, right? Yeah, and that's you're 100% right. That's really good. That's a really great point.
Thanks for hanging out, Mike. I don't see another Q&A here, man. Okay. So your thing starts this next week, October 25th.
You got it. October 25th on Monday. We're going to be hanging out. 10 a.m. Pacific will launch on Monday. And then each day next week, it'll be 10 to 11. So for those of you that have jobs or whatever, you say, can I scoot away from 10 to 11? Now the recordings will be left in the group throughout the week. At the end of the week, they come down. But so if you have a job, you can watch them in the evenings, or if you early morning before you go to work, you can watch yesterday so you can stay up with it. Each day there's some takeaways to some homework stuff to get done. So it's truly an immersive program that really helps you take that next step. Jimmy Roberts, great to see you, brother. Can't wait to see you at the challenge, man.
Oh, Jim. Yeah. Hey, Jim. Okay. That's all I got for you, roundup. Listen, Mike, anything else you want to leave for him?
The only thing I can leave is that over my real estate career, nothing's changed it like private money. And I just hope that we can see, I hope we can see all. Chris, I think we got to give Chris a round of applause for the best YouTube props in the world. Look at that thing he's got right there. That thing, he's taught me more about YouTube stuff than anybody I know. It's so creative, man. I love it.
Gotta make it fun, bro.
Did you do that yourself, or did you have somebody do that for you?
I got a guy. I could do this in a million years.
You're like, I couldn't do this. That thing is sweet.
Yeah, I want people to listen, y'all. Let's have some fun. Don't approach this stuff like, I gotta go talk to people about money. I promise you won't talk to anybody if you think about it like that.
That's so true.
You won't talk to anybody like, dang, you got any money? Dang. Well, Mike, it can be a little overwhelming at first because I was like that. I'm like, I don't want to ask people for money. I look poor, I look broke, I look desperate. And when I changed my mindset, like, look, I'm helping you.
Yeah, I'm
gonna do the deal whether you give me the money or not. So you want to bring your money? It's irrelevant to me whether you give me the money.
Yeah, Chris, that's after you said that. This is what I will leave you with. So when you're thinking about private money, a lot of people think of it like it's a sales job. Like I'm going out and I'm trying to sell people on why they should give me money.
You need to sell me.
Yeah.
Why should I take your money?
It's so true. I want you to think about it like inviting people to a party. Nobody's nervous to hand an invitation to invite them over for an open house or a party. Mm-hmm. But that's what we're doing. We're inviting people to come into something that's highly beneficial for them. We're just inviting them. Do you want in? No? Okay, no worries. We're giving an invitation to help. I mean, it's like walking up to somebody. If we said it what it was really like, this is the invitation. Would you be okay if I took your money and on my work, my systems, my back, I made you more money? You cool with that? That's really what we're asking them. I'm really asking them, hey, I'll take your money. I'll go make you more. I'll do all the work, and you just sit there, and I'm gonna bring you more money back.
Gotcha.
You know, so that's the power of switching that system up. So I hope to see all y'all on Monday. That would be a blast.
That'd be cool. Mike Fritz, we got 50 people here on. Mike Fritz, my boy in Arizona, Roundup. If this has helped you at all, hit that like button in the video description, right? Subscribe to the channel and share with anybody else that you think wants to get into the real estate investing world, but you hear them say, well, I want to get in when I get the money. I'm going to get the money. So if you suffer from, I wish if I had 5 cents for every time I heard somebody say, I'm going to wait until I get the money. I want to just, I'm done trying to change their mind and say, yeah. Now I don't even say anything anymore.
Yeah, so true, dude. It's such a good reminder when people, if I had money, I'd get into real estate. And I'm like, oh man. And I said it too. I said that too until I knew. I said it too. That's what I thought. And so until somebody, straightened out my my crazy thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Roundup. It is good to see you.
Good to see you all so much.
In the next video. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Peace.